Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Inmendham. It's all in here. That's where it is, yeah. Anyway, so interesting week. Things to talk about. Wrote down stuff, you know. Somebody on the website-y thing posted a link to a Hittner, you know, Judge Hittner being interviewed. And it was so, like undeep, like trivial, trivial. You know, it just makes so obvious how unimpressive these characters are that, you know, essentially define our laws and define them so badly that we don't really even have a constitution anymore. Which is, you know, most people don't realize it, but yeah, you know, the Constitution doesn't mean anything if judges won't protect your rights. You don't really have any. You can think you have them, but you really don't. Because when you need them, they won't be there. Trust me, I know. Anyway, so that was sort of interesting. Boring, but interesting. Not boring, but it was always boring. But it was so cliche. You know, a black judge appointed by Obama, the white judge appointed by Hittner. I mean, the politics was so obvious. It was just, it's like watching politicians kissing babies. You just reeks of insincerity and bullshit. Ugh. What people vote for. Anyway, so just throwing that in there. Somebody linked to it, so I just thought I'd point out because I did see it, and it was kind of sickening to see Hittner. Anyway, you know, pretending to be such a nice little nerdy putz. And he's such an obnoxiously rude cunt. It's just kind of funny. In real life. Arrogant asshole. Anyway. Ooh, I got thrown off a case. Just reminding you. I got a federal appeals court to kick him off the case because he's an asshole. They didn't point that out. Fox News didn't bother with that fact. Anyway. So Asrinach was made a live room, so that was weird. You know, flash from the past kind of thing. It's happening lately. These people from the past are showing up. I was thinking it would be really cool if Rabbit Ape showed up again because he's supposed to be a physicist now. I mean, he should be. It's more than 4 years, I think, so he should have sort of got a degree or something. I don't know. Anyway, or maybe that just didn't. I don't know. Who knows what he's doing? But that would be interesting. But anyway, just thinking of people from the past that just disappeared, gone. So anyway, Asrinach, the weird thing was, he seemed younger than he was when he was on YouTube. Partly, I guess, because he dressed a little more sophisticated. You know, he wore white shirts, played all that kind of I'm a sophisticated philosopher kind of game, and now he looks kind of street, you know, cork in the ears, still got the hoop in the nose, and beardy kind of thingy and tattoos and whatever, and I don't know. But he just seemed kind of less of a man to me. I mean, younger, but younger almost in a negative way, like more juvenile. But there's a lot of that going around, so not hugely surprising. But it was nice seeing him. I mean, it was just a nice little bit of nostalgia. But yeah, he was just doing a live room thing, chatting with texters and stuff, and like he cares or something. It was just, yeah. Sorry, I don't get that shit. Nope. Don't get it. Oh, the Ken Wheeler guy, whatever he is, the angry photographer. Fat and angry, I guess you should say. But anyway, so he bought, you know, he got this new camera, this new Fuji thingy for whatever, $16,000 camera, and he just tells stories, and I just wanted to point out it just tells stories. Because he basically says, oh, I sold some of my other cameras, you know, his extra cameras. He always has 15 of everything. But I was thinking about it, and I'm saying, nah, if you really sold some shit, and you have a YouTube account that gets, you know, pretty good views, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 views per video, I'm pretty sure if you really wanted to make money, you'd sell it on eBay and, you know, announce the sale on your channel. Because you might get an extra $1,000 on the sell price, for sure. No problem. So I'm just not. His whole story about being a poor man that every month forks over 15 grand to buy shit. I mean, it just like seems like every month he spends like $15,000. Yeah, and he claims to be, oh no, I'm on a budget. Fuck you. Anyway, I just, I don't know how he gets away with that shit. Piro. So Piro made one video that was really, don't really understand what he's thinking. So it's about this whole video site thing, and so he's going to stream his videos not on YouTube. Stream them and then save them on a private server. And I've done this in the past. I've posted videos on my website, and usually it's because I can't post them on YouTube, or YouTube's been so obnoxious in terms of censorship and abuse of my rights that I found it necessary to protest. And I'd like to be able to post videos, frankly, off of YouTube, but you can't, because no one pays any attention, and the index, Google doesn't index anything. You can't find things on the internet using Google. I mean, the real stuff. The stuff that isn't part of the marketing industry. So, I just don't see that. What's the point? Of a Piro video being on some other site. It's just kind of hard to figure out what exactly his point is, because he's not exactly Mr. Controversial. So, I don't know. Okay. I don't think it'll work, because it didn't work for me, so I don't know how it's going to work for you. But anyway, so then there was two videos that are sort of related: Snake Plisskeness and Amazing Atheist. And Amazing Atheist, somebody gave me a link to his Stories of My Father. Was I Abused? So his father means really his father and his stepfather. So he had the benefit of two fun little daddies. And, he's sincerely asking some question. He wants the viewers to be his therapist. Be my therapist. Tell me what you think. It's just kind of bizarre. And then Snake Plisskeness lives the real life of of going just totally, crash and burn. And the recovery, Phoenix part, rebuilding yourself from nothing. From nothing. Alright, maybe he still had an iPhone or whatever, but I mean, from almost nothing. And I have to admire the perseverance in it. I'm obviously much older, and it's just, I couldn't find the energy to have to, inch your way back up, to the shit level. I mean, just the shit level. To fight for shit. A tiny bit of human dignity. I just don't think I would, I lose a few too many of my wrenches, even though I hate working on cars. If I lost all my wrenches or something, I can't go on. Even though I don't use them, I don't want to use them. I don't even like working on cars anymore. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. But it's something I couldn't live without. If you took it away from me, I just feel wrong. And to start over like that, it's, courageous and admirable. And see, the fake Sagan video fits into this. Well, Christopher whatever, Watkins or something. Anderson, Mr. Anderson. Yeah. Made a video that was just hilarious, because he was, basically said, I've had enough. No mas. And he's conceding that life is just, oh yeah, I get it. It's really just this cycle of bullshit, a cycle of, just getting your head bobbled, knocked one way and then knocked the other way, and you just keep, bobbling along. That it isn't really going anywhere. It's just a bunch of chase and, It doesn't add up to anything in the end. And it's, just this, he doesn't say this, but, it's just this grisly little squirrel that runs inside of you saying, they're doing some kind of little engine that could bullshit that just keeps you here. But yeah, it's, and so he's converted into some kind of desperate, this whole religion thing. It's like somehow this is going to be this is the way out. This is the doorway out where you get to walk out with your boots on or something, your dignity or something. I don't see that at all. To me, it's, you've just, you pooped your pants in the war trench. When you turn to God, that's, you just pooped your pants. Nah, it's not going to look good. No dignity in, that desperate opiate of artificial hope that there's some reclamation possible, and that you can leave like a virgin or something. Yeah, whatever. No hope. So anyway, so I'm mixing these three characters because they're similar characters in a sense. All a bit too nihilist for my taste. But the Amazing Atheist one is the one, obviously you go into a whole bunch of things where, TJ's supposed to be a smart guy, and I think he is sort of a smart guy, but, he sure should see that he obviously has acquired some negative personality traits from these negative personality traits of his father's. These negative role models didn't exactly instill in him some sort of embarrassment capacity when it comes to ethical crimes, or character defects, or however you want to describe those, in a lot of simple ways. But TJ's a weird one, right? Because there's some subjects he seems incredibly sensitive. Like you just can't imagine how hysterically sensitive he seems on certain issues. Like maybe the tranny thingy a little in the gender confusion kind of subject, because I guess he's in that category. And yet he'll talk about rape and tell rape victims to get over it. Like there's no real trauma involved with this idea of you basically having your innocence bludgeoned and your sexual identity perverted, in kind of a rude way. And all of that stuff does do damage, I think. It's like 2 women, 3 cups, or whatever the fuck it was. That'll hurt you. You don't want to watch that kind of shit, because you watch enough of that kind of shit. shit. Pudding, whatever. Shit like food. It'll do shit to you, in my opinion. And just like your fathers do things like that to you. Well, anyway, so he's saying is this abuse and blah, 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 blah. And I think anything, anytime you're being manipulated by an authority figure, that's sort of the definition of a kind of abuse. So anytime an authority figure, somebody who's supposed to understand that children are impressionable and fragile, is playing them for some purpose, satisfying their own needs through them, or doing any of that kind of crap, it's always going to be some kind of abuse, because they're supposed to be the ones who understand how delicate the psychology of a kid is, and so they should know better. But it is a funny line to, once you have to establish that they had some knowledge, they were capable of understanding that the role they were in and the responsibility they had. So, it gets a little bit, you can always have arguments about this stuff. I had some argument with somebody because, as much as I hate cops, right, so you know, and so the cop in New York, you know, drunk driving, they killed a couple of people, you know, stripper bar, the typical bullshit from cops. And so the guy's got, you know, he finally got caught. Well, he got caught and he got, you know, they nailed him. You know, he went to trial and he lost. And so he faces 20 years. So he said something, well, he faces only 20 years. I'm saying, yeah, but it's the same crime. I mean, drunk driving is drunk driving. No drunk driver thinks, I'm going to kill somebody tonight. So their intent is exactly the same. The intent of the drunk driver who doesn't kill somebody is exactly the same as the drunk driver who does. And all you're doing is rewarding somebody for luck. You're saying you were lucky, therefore you don't go to jail for 20 years, you just get 6 months of this and a couple of $1,000 in penalties. You know, and it's you know, it's like the attempted murder versus murder thing. Why should the crimes be different? Why should you give a attempted murderer points off for failing for being incompetent? I mean, it's almost upside down, you know, to give the failed murderer extra credit, so to speak, an A on the test, because they couldn't even accomplish their intent. But it's exactly the same crime, right? The intention is the crime is the intent. So fuck. But anyway, so I don't know where I'm going with that. Now that I've lost the whole. Well, I guess it's that knowledge thing. So you can't really, you know, how big a crime somebody's abuse is really depends on how, if they have any kind of notions in their head about what their role here on planet Earth is, or any kind of idea that they influence the other people they fuck around with, or whether they in some way might even impact the future and the quality of life for the human species and all of that kind of crap. And so obviously TJ's father seemed kind of distant from that knowledge. And I would argue that an awful lot of that leaked into TJ, because he's always seemed quite capable of viewing the rest of the world as ants to be manipulated for his purposes. And now, later, he seems to be having some sort of, I wouldn't say it's a crisis of any kind, maybe he's just using it to gain more fake sympathy. I mean, look, I'm a big giant fat man. Look, I have a small penis. Look, I have all these look, I'm, you know, so he paints this thing. He's like Howard Stern always used to talk about how small his penis was, even though he didn't have a small penis, but he just because it made him likable by losers. It didn't make him a threat. I'm ugly, I have a big nose, I'm this, I'm that, blah, blah, blah. So all this bullshit, you know, even though he knows, don't matter to a lot of chicks. You know, that, but you paint the picture like, oh, I'm a pathetic loser, because, you know, that makes him less of a threat to the other males, and therefore they'll gravitate to that guy, because that's somebody, you know, that they don't feel threatened by. Where if you're brilliantly charming and eloquent and attractive, yeah, you're resented. It actually did happen in my youth. I mean, it really did. I mean, people just hated me for nothing, just because I just seemed like, it's like, to them it seemed like, oh, it's too easy. He's too good at everything, and you know, like I didn't earn it, and they really hated that shit. But anyway, that's all. So that was my psychological damage, was living two lives. You know, most of my maturation, I was a dwarf. I was a runt. And then, you know, late, like still in my 20s, I was growing. And so by the time I was 21, I'm 6'1", and impressive to some people. And it wasn't a role I was ready to play, because I was a loser. And I didn't know how to play the new role. So anyway, but it's all psychology. But anyway, so I want to just get to the abuse part, because that's just a funny word to use, because, you know, the abuse can come in such subtle ways. Like, it's not like you would ever be actually negative, like somebody doesn't even have a negative intent, but it's just they don't feed you. They forget. Oh, I didn't know you needed to be fed. So it's almost like you can be abused by just the lack of feeding, or the lack of sunlight, or, it's not so much that you're getting beaten, it's that you're getting a kind of starved. And, that can be just as damaging, in a way. Because there's nothing, you can't keep fighting if you can't, if you never get to bandage a wound and you just keep carrying them all as scars, you're just scar tissue. You need somebody once in a while to, take it away, make you feel better. And if nothing ever does that, you compound the negative psychology, because the negatives are reinforced because you keep tripping over the liability of your previous emotional wounds. So you can never start new, like fake Sagan sort of attempting to do-over. In some simpler, less, I don't know, I won't say passionate, but less interested, less it's simpler. That's just the way to say it. I mean, religion is just for people who want it simple. Just give me the simple instructions, and there's some nice, pretty little stories, and okay, everything's going to be okay when I get to heaven. La 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 la, and then I can nap forever. Have a big bowl of porridge and sleep forever, or whatever. Anyway. So what else? So Piro made another video of politics. It was just, so I just wanted to say again that the Snake Plisskenus video really was interesting. Just how he survived, this indignity of, homeless shelters for 6 months. I mean, eesh. And shitty job, horrible combination. Anyway, buses and no, I can't do that. Anyway, so Piro made some political video where he's talking about the Democratic Party and its failures, and simple things he brought up, like obviously the war thing was a real idiotic move for the Democratic Party, and that sort of was a little bit Clinton-esque. That's the blue dog Democrats who need to do the military, support the military, the big on the defense contracts, a lot of defense companies in their states, the red states. So yeah, they're cheating. They're pretending they're Republicans or Democrats because they're getting the payoff they want, the farm subsidies and the military spending. So it's Democrats sold out. It's progressive sold out. But these other subjects, like he compared supporting the whole gender equality thing, gender identification freedom, or however you want to describe it, the tranny subject, and he compared that to the immigrant subject, as if these are trivial subjects. I'm not saying that the tranny thing is trivial, but obviously these are semi-trivial minority rights, that don't involve a lot of people, in the sense of the necessity for change. It's only going to satisfy a few people to have men or women using the alternate bathrooms or something. And it's not a winner in any kind of mass appeal way. It's another small segment, a kind of a desperate vote whoring from people who the Democrats really don't have to whore for. I mean, the Republican, the log cabin Republicans, or whatever they call them, the homosexual Republicans, are pretty much imbeciles. So I mean, why would you even want to attract them back? But anyway, not really the point. But and the immigrant issue, though, is huge in terms of that one is just such a loser. I mean, that costs you votes. And, you know, you gain some from the immigrant community, sure, but you lose so much from your base. It's just such a stupid move for the Democratic Party to be the party of any kind of notion of open borders, especially when it's supposed to be the party protecting worker rights, which the whole immigrant thing is going to destroy, and has destroyed and will destroy further. It's just importing desperation, and you know, we might as well just say we're China, if that's the road we're going to take. So anyway, just really stupid. So something the world, I don't know what it was. So I don't know what that part is. So I don't really, wrote the notes in red, which makes them even harder to read. I wasn't too smart. Let's see. Stupid Nuck Escarit. Stupid. Well, anyway. Solar done right. Oh, nuclear crap. Yeah, so he's, his stupid thorium crap. He thinks this is the big solution, blah, 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 blah. Completely unproven nuclear technology. They haven't built a thorium plant that actually makes money, yet. And yet he thinks it's going to save the world. Free energy for everybody. Just really dumb. And so that just reminds me of the solar issue, which everybody jumps on this bandwagon of putting these solar panels on roofs. The company called me 3 times the other day, trying to snooker me into this stupid sham. And that's all it is. It's just a way for a bunch of middlemen, a bunch of schemers like TJ to make money. Selling crap and selling the wrong answer. And at this huge cost, 70% of the value of the solar panels destroyed, so a bunch of capitalists can make some money, entrepreneurs, whatever, and accomplish nothing. I mean, not do it the efficient way. The efficient way would be even if you had entrepreneurs sell it, they would sell. You could buy into a solar farm. You could buy a percentage of the solar farm, and they could sell shares into the solar farm. But that would be the way to do it. Huge efficiencies. Maintenance, you can track the sun, just huge efficiencies. And having a system done right, not a stupid rickety system put on your fucking roof. Pointed the wrong direction. Not moving with the sun. It's just so dumb. But anyway, but no one complains about it. I do. But no one else. And it's hugely inefficient. And this should be something progressives worry about. That we're not doing these progressive technologies in a progressive way. So even if you ended up with thorium plants, if you're going to let a bunch of capitalists capitalize them, then you're probably going to end up with something like a 30% efficient plant. So, fuck it. It's not worth it at that price. Alright, didn't take meth. Somebody said that. Let's see. Everything else. Oh yeah, that was Fake Sagan. So Fake Sagan said that line. That was kind of funny. I didn't take, he's trying to dismiss the argument that he's just doing the cliche conversion. And it reminded me of my sister. So I have a sister who died of cancer, and it's very sad, and the whole thing is just disgusting. Life is suck. But anyway, when she was like 17, 18 years old, she got into a lot of bullshit. Met the wrong men, went to the wrong places, California, did the wrong whoring around. Anyway, and so she ended up compromised spiritually, let's say, physically and spiritually. And so she converted, to Pentecostal, crazy-ass, loony religion. And this was like just, a short period after, just a couple of years ago, I had finally gotten like my sister was very popular and I was a tremendous loser, so I was starting to become less of a loser, and she would hang out with me, and we'd smoke pot, and it was sort of nice that we were developing a relationship. And then she went to California and came back a lunatic. I mean, completely not the same. I couldn't recognize her. I couldn't find my sister in her, inside of that thing that came back. And I tried to. I mean, I went to the church with her. I did all kinds of stuff to try to get where she's, what the fuck are you doing? And she kept trying to convert me. And I was like, what are you, insane? Don't you, I mean, she knew me. Nobody would try to convert me. I mean, I'm the last person on earth you'd try to convert. It's a ludicrous prospect, because you have no hope. Just no fucking hope at all. Anyway. And, yeah, so, but it's this, and Fake Sagan smells of that. He just smells he reeks of it. And, he says, I didn't do meth. Yeah, but you did every fucking thing else, and you brag about doing every fucking thing else. And you did lots of crappy things. You beat people up, and you beat women, and you had casual sex, and you used people. You did lots of shit. And, yeah, this is just your, oh, fuck, I don't want that written on my gravestone. And so you're doing this emotional conversion thing. I emotionally need to, take a shower. And you're using this, whatever, this God love thing. God loves me and he's cleansing me of my crimes and blah, 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 blah. And I would argue that the only way you really get cleansed is like if you killed somebody as a drunk driver, the only way you get cleansed is you prevent somebody else from doing it. You stop the crime from happening to somebody else, and then you've undone your crime, essentially. One for one kind of thing. Or maybe you could add 3. Maybe you could save 3 people from the same mistake. And then you're way ahead. So maybe Fake Sagan could be preaching, about how, don't get caught up in this bullshit. Don't get caught up chasing nonsense. Because the root of life is, this important shit. And, or some theme like that. But instead he's just kind of glib. Like, oh yeah, well I did all that stuff, and that was cool, and I need to do that for my own development. So I could catch fire and burn into a bunch of ashes, and then re-rise as the Christian Phoenix or something. But he's not really rising as a Christian Phoenix because his rhetoric is completely defeatist. I mean, he's grown weary. These are his words. Let's see. Oh, come on, that was a really good one. Let's see. Oh, come on, where is it? I probably wrote it over here somewhere. What the hell is all this stuff? The company store. Why the hell did I write that down? I don't know. The company store. That was related to, I guess that was related to the inheritance crap. Oh yeah, those are the videos I did this week, was a couple of inheritance videos. But anyway, we know that religion is just a kind of prison. The brains get thrown in, and they're not going to do anything good in that institution. They're not going to come out better for it. Yeah, I just don't. He made some other clean start. Yeah. I don't know what your clean, and I'm thinking clean finish is what he's really looking for. So anyway, but there was some other line in there. But anyway, never mind. It's probably not that important. So anyway, it's all this psychobabble bullshit. But it's we're trivial by nature. I mean, our aesthetic passions are just so silly, I mean, the stuff that moves us. Just, and it's doesn't have, there is no substance to this life thing. You just live it because you're here, and you feel. And you're just chasing feeling good, and you're kind of annoyed to feel bad, and you really won't invest too much of that negative stuff. And dying is just doesn't look like any fun at all. It just doesn't have any real appeal to it except escape. So you really have to be kind of desperate to get out. You have to be really battered, really bludgeoned, really scar covered, leaking wounds. You have to be in some kind of condition where you're going to die anyway, so just make it quicker. You're already on the road to death, so you might as well just drive off the cliff because you're already heading for the machine that crushes the cars or something. So yes, you might as well just do it yourself. Something like that. But till then, you're kind of a player. Not by any... The physical body wants to play. It just physically says, feed me. And then you have these little petty, I want to see him, something or other, ... I want to see that, something you want to see. There's a new movie coming out, some stupid reason will cling you to it. You'll find rationalizations to play. And so in the context of that truth, it's just really irritating that you have to make these extensive arguments about just fessing up and saying, don't recommend creating human beings. Because this is the trap. I mean, it is just a vicious cycle. And part of fake Sagan's religion is just some sort of acquiescence to that. I mean, he's reading from Ecclesiastes and how, yes, life is just a redundant, disgusting, eat the dirt, shit the dirt, cycle of crap. And it's just like, it's like the Buddhist. Life is suffering. Let's do some more. Let's make more sufferers. I mean, what sense does it make? And they think they're going to gain their own salvation. The Buddhists do, well, I'll burn myself to death so I escape the horror of coming back to Earth as Joe Moron. Oh, gee, that's so generous. That's like somebody jumping out of the car, when it's going to crash. My sister did that. We were heading right for a telephone pole. She jumped out of the car. It's like, well, yeah, Leah left us all to die. Geez. So it's kind of funny. But see, that's the character. See, I mean, not in a negative way. I just mean that's a survival thing. My sister she was tough. She was a player. She wasn't going to get, hey, I'm not going to be in a car accident. Fuck that shit. I'm going to roll out of the car. She did it. She was successful. I mean, she would have been the only one standing if we actually hit the telephone pole, but we actually stopped right before we hit it. Snow and ice and terrible. But, kids back then. But anyway, it was exciting. I mean, terrifyingly exciting. Near misses are fun. I mean, just because what they just show you this whole thing of, oh man, I'm so fucking lucky. There's so many circumstances where, okay, I should have lost my arm there. I should have been decapitated that time. I should have been paralyzed that time. I should have been impaled at least 6 times. I mean, where the impalement, like the spear went right by your ear. I mean, that's happened to me so many times where it just went right past my ear. And those are just kind of so enlightening to the fact that you just have to concede that this is so dangerous. This is just such a messy thing to be playing with. There's got failure written all over it. And in the end, the strongest will be, John Wayne was a little man when he died. I mean, it ate him down. It wasted him. And it just wastes everybody before it, finally bashes you to death. And why would you impose that on somebody? So, and but you get these stupid people are just so obnoxious. They keep talking like, oh, you'll never convince the world, blah blah. And again, the argument is you don't have to convince the world. This is the stupid anti-Pyrrho argument. You have to convince a tiny percentage of the world's population that are the recklessly stupid. And instead of putting them on a pedestal and say how wonderful the poor are, the huddled, smelly masses are just wonderful, wonderful people. No, they're stupid, reckless, irresponsible cunts who have no clue what they've bought into. They have no clue what it means to create a human being and the responsibilities tied to that. They're pigs. So anyway, I'll throw in one more little anecdotal story regarding the immigration thing. So, I live in a rather white-only county, in New Jersey. It's not that bad. But the funny thing is that, yeah, you can drive 10 miles, and, there's Newark. You could drive 10 miles, and there's a place called Dover, and it's always been called Dover Rico, because, it's always been Spanish. I mean, not always, but, in the 70s, they just flooded in, took it over. That's it. It was their town. And so it's that kind of white flight thing, Everybody else had to leave because it was, cucaracha everywhere. Presumably, in one of these close towns, some bicycler youth went through our town when I happened to be going for a walk. And so there had to be like 50 of them on bicycles. And they're all talking Spanish. Not one English sentence anywhere. So they're all blah 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 in the park. Right? All this crap. And they're really loud. Okay, I'm 300 feet away at least. And it's loud. They're just blah, blah, blah. And then there's still some coming down the road, and there's cars backed up. Because the cars are trying to go, it's a 45-mile-an-hour road, and they're stuck going 20 miles an hour, right? And so what do I hear, though? Pure English. Fuck you! Yeah. To the people who have to worry about running these punks over, who are now just making turns, off the highway into the huddle of 50 of them, the gang. And you're just saying, see, but that's the problem. This is the new generation, right? These people probably didn't grow up in Mexico, but they probably grew up in a town that just couldn't care less about speaking English. And so they're more comfortable speaking Spanish. And that's not a good habit. It's not respectful to the country they're occupying. It's not respectful to the culture of the country they're occupying. It's kind of rude and obnoxious when the only English you bother learning how to speak is fuck you. Yeah, that's sort of a suck sign. This is where immigration isn't working. When this is what it turns into, it's not working. And that's the problem. So you can make arguments, but there's plenty of evidence out there that it isn't working. That you're not making America more American. You're making America more Mexican. Truth. Turn the radio on. Get a clue. So anyway, but I'm like, I have nothing against immigrants. I have nothing against, I'm just saying it's a practical matter. Culture has to be protected. And it has to be worked for. It has to be defended. And if you don't do that, you're going to crash and burn like Rome. Period. You're going to be a big fat failure in the end. Idiocracy will win, and your high-mindedness, your hundreds of years of development and work to establish something will be for nothing if you're not willing to defend it. And I think there's nothing else to say. And oh yeah, that was the thing. The other unrealistic thing Piero was talking about is this whole idea of the rest of the world becoming industrialized. That we've got to spread the wealth, and we know that can't happen. The carbon problem. We know how inefficient America is. 70% of the fuel, 30% of the people or whatever. I mean, this huge imbalance to our percentage of fuel used per person, per capita. And we know that's what industrialization will cause. And that it took us 100 years of pollution to create our infrastructure. And he talks about like it's nothing. Like you can just do all these really great roads in China, and really great this, and really great that, and really great, do have great stuff everywhere. Everybody has great infrastructure. Like it doesn't take a ton of energy at the cost of huge pollution to create that. So then again, that's this thorium solution. Like it's going to just be free, and it's not. And coal's always going to be cheaper, and that's going to be true. Oil's not always going to be cheaper, but coal's going to be cheap for a long time. And that's what America burned, and it burned it for a reason, because it's cheap. And that's what we built it on, was cheap fuel, dirt cheap fuel. And you're expecting the rest of the world to build it on expensive fuel, and that ain't going to happen. They're going to go for the cheap, and in a sense they have a right to, if we had a right to. So, but I mean, just the argument is he talks as if there's no overpopulation problem, that we can go to 9 billion, not a problem, we can do this, we can do that, and there's no evidence it's going to stop there. Idiocracy is winning, and idiocracy is breeding, and that's not changing. That's going the wrong way. Kids are being born poor and Muslim. They're not being born smart, sophisticated in fancy countries. Just, you know, it's just dumb. So anyway, now it's enough of a video. End with the Puro is just fucking dumb. And TJ seems a little bit insincere, asking the audience to be his therapist. I mean, TJ knows who the audience is better than anybody else. He actually hung out with audiences in places. I bet you very few of those people of the audience became anything called a sincere friend who TJ would trust the advice of or something. Yeah, I don't think so. They're just, you know, things to pee on. I mean, at least his father's never peed on him, like overtly peed on him. And TJ isn't really above that. I can imagine him having one of those, whatever, get-together things, whatever they're called. What do you call those things? Those, whatever, and just peeing on him all. So anyway, that's enough. I mean, there's just certain things that TJ has done that were just so, again, he wrote a blog about the fact, you know, he did this whole thing for charity with the Katrina thing, and it was all just for his own advantage. I mean, the fact that he did that alone should just ring so loud as, oh, fuck, that's my father. He has infected me with, you know, some bad memes. That I was actually capable of playing a game like that, and there was no shutter mechanism, no mechanism that said, you don't need to go there. You can play a better game than that. You can win with a better game than that. To use a charity? I mean, fuck. You know, with animals and stuff. I mean, it involved like animals that got homeless because of the floods and all that. I mean, it's just, you know, very not nice. Not nice. So I like that TJ might be being reflective, but I just as he doubts his father's sincerity, you know, even in hindsight, he can't figure out whether the few times his father was building him up, that he was just building him up so he'd be more valuable to him. And you almost have to say that you almost think that TJ's playing this I'm a sensitive soul game, you know, because he can play it. It's better cards for his, you know, pull out of his sleeve kind of thing. Later use. You know, anyway. Till the next time and such. So, interesting week. Yeah, I did say in one of the physics videos, you know, I've been really dragging the last 3 months, you know, since I quit drinking coffee. It's been rough. And, you know, I don't see any, you know, there's no real reason to be addicted to caffeine. I mean, it's not like nicotine. It doesn't have any compulsive element to it. So I didn't have any desire. I didn't need desperately, I wanted coffee, but I didn't need it. It wasn't like nicotine at all. So I did without it. But it really did fuck me, and it fucked my mood, and it fucked everything. And I kept thinking it was going to wear off. But after whatever it is, 2 months, or I don't know exactly how long it is. It's more than 70 days or something. I don't know. And I still hadn't recovered. And so I just took I've been taking these little bit of caffeine, the no-dose kind of pills, and they're making me a little. I have nervous energy, and I'm almost a little nauseous, but I'm awake. I'm here, and it is kind of funny, that it's. I mean, caffeine. It's just irritating because I really want to get clean. I want to, I want to get clean, and I'm going to have to. Winnow my way off of this necessity. Something about my organs just aren't working without the caffeine. Without the caffeine, it just, I mean, I do have a low thyroid, so maybe that's part of it, but just, damn, just pisses me off. But yeah, I feel stronger. I don't mean I can handle anything. I couldn't handle the homeless shelter, but I just, I'm getting things done, which is, I haven't been doing. I mean, it's not like I haven't been doing stuff. I have, but I mean, it's just, I've dragged through everything. Everything's just been such a forced march, and I just don't feel as forced, in marching. It's still not marching well, but I'm just, I am sort of going the right. Yeah, I'm just saying it's a better stand-up game, kind of. I'm playing a better game, I think. Maybe it'll wear off. I'm just saying it's. I was worried because I was like fake Sagan. I had grown weary. Yeah, I was weary. Anyway, till next time.